Are we recording? Yes, we are. Sweet. Okay. I just got stung by a bee and I'm allergic. So I took some Advil, I took some Benadryl, and now I'm very drowsy. Sure, update. Go for it. You gonna reset yourself? iTerm. Okay. Do I have something called Scratchpad? I do. And okay, yeah, so we're gonna make the cart thing. All right. Oh, touch. Okay, so here's our card example. We got this. All right, all right, all right. Where am I? I'm in the corner here. Okay. npx is like npm. It runs an npm module without having to install it. It installs it temporarily, then deletes it. NodeMon is a JavaScript runner. It just runs, it compiles, it watches for changes on the file and recompiles it and runs it in the console. Super useful. And this is called cart. Okay, so technically it's running Node because we're not importing anything or doing any non-Node syntax. It should work. It appears this is not printing though. Invalid unexpected token line 12. Really? Okay, so class should be cart. Like this. Invalid or unexpected token. Oh. Translators. Internal modules. Okay, 12. Okay, still doesn't like something. Oh, okay, yeah, so internal functions in a, so I think this is fine. Class property. I'm not sure if Node has those. And then for these, this is how we would define it in a class. Still doesn't like it. Okay. Semicolons, I don't think are needed there. Maybe. Cart equals new cart. Add item. This dot, that should be okay. Stringify. Yeah. Yeah. My wife is worrying about me. Okay. Gonna just close the door. She thinks I'm talking to myself. Delirious from a bee sting. Okay. Why is this not working? Print. All right, let's just look up an example. MDN class, classes, example, class, can't have a constructor, doesn't need it necessarily. This dot capital C, let's see if these are the issues. Nope, still doesn't like it. Oh, mycart.print, oops, okay. Now we're talking. Okay, so it has a problem with add item. Does it have a problem with this add item? No. This one? No. This one? No. This one? I wonder if it just needed some kind of a refresh. So, okay, it's fine. It works. Tablecloth. Share 8? Oh, okay, 8. Yeah. Table 1, and then that's 2. Okay, cool. All right, so that's one thing. And then we have the cart. Add item quantity 1. So this could be a ternary, but I actually like it separate. Some people don't like plus equals because it's a little less clear than equals thing plus. This is fine though. And then print it. Okay, yeah. So I can show what I do for the. Okay, let's do remove item. Say remove item table. So that should remove one table. We'll do the optional thing again. Item and quantity. If this item quantity, and then we'll do minus equals quantity. Otherwise, if it's not in there, don't do anything. But now we need to check if it's negative and set it to 0. Or if it's negative, if it's 0 or less, remove it. Less than or equal to 0. Remove something from a object. I think you can do delete. Let's just verify that. Yep, delete operator. Delete. Yep. I think that's the best way to do that. There's probably a few different ways to do that, like set the reference to undefined or something, but this I think is the appropriate way to do it. Okay, so we remove the item. Why did we get a 0 there? Oh, that was probably from before. Okay. And then we want to do the inventory thing. So the way this inventory thing should work is, actually, let me show class as prototypal inheritance. Without using the class. Use cart without using the class. It'd be a function cart, and then this is the constructor. So we will set the internal cart, and then we can either put functions in here, like this dot add item, like that, or we can do cart.prototype.add item. Right? Either one of those work. I don't think in this case, oh, well, this is a good test. Question is, does this need to be this function declaration, or can it be an arrow function? Let's get print. Yes. Why is there space here? That's weird formatting. I must have a weird default. Item is not defined. Item is not defined. That is true. That is true. That is true. Okay, yeah, so that works. Now arrow function test also works. So how do you think about that? Oh yeah. So arrow function is lexical binding scope, but it's still function scoped. So it's scoped to this function, this outer function. This obviously is a constructor. It can't be an arrow function because arrow functions cannot be constructors. They're just like, wait, is that true? Hold on. I've never seen a arrow function that can be used as a constructor, but it's also just a function. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Yeah, no, you can't new up a thing. It's not a constructor. Yeah, exactly. Arrow function does not set up the constructor situation. Okay. So that's how that way would work. This way is, yeah, very, very similar. Differences, you don't need the this dot on a class property. Class property is like a special thing. Really, this is just syntax over top of this, though. Everything else with the new and everything, that's prototypal inheritance. Meaning, if we did this dot thing and it didn't find it in this scope, it would go follow the prototype chain up. And so if I had a class supercart that extends cart, I would access this dot cart here. You could initialize it, and inheritance would work. It looks like regular inheritance, but the way it actually functions is prototype inheritance. All right, so what we're looking for the async bit is a service. So like check inventory, which I think you had this pretty well baked, and you said async here, right? I honestly forget this thing every time I write it too. Check inventory for an item, and of course we can return greater than 0.5. Then here, yeah, so we can have this queue. And then there's one more thing I'm going to show after this that a lot of newer students are using. So here what we want to do is push. No, let's just grab it. So is in our in stock promise. So we know what this is. Check inventory. Now notice I have this outside of the class because when this is like a separation of concerns thing, you want to abstract using an abstract pattern or something. You abstract away your network calls into a separate service. This is a good practice. Separation of concerns. Check inventory. Right, and so we can do a wait here, or we know that this returns a promise, so we can just have the promise here, and then we can do dot then. We'll get the results here, and then we'll add if so this is a practice. Some people say you should only have one return, you should have a consistent return type. In this case, I'm just shortcutting out when it's not in stock. I actually don't want to shortcut out. Do I want to log item out of stock? Okay. And okay, out of stock. Okay, everything's out of stock. Still out of stock. Okay, so that's interesting. So the result is always coming back false. That is interesting. Are we never resolving the promise? True, false, true, false. Oh, we're only gonna see this message when it's out of stock. Yeah, so and then we see an empty array here because we're not waiting for all the promises yet. So okay, so we push it onto the queue, and then when we're printing, we're gonna say promise.all promise queue. And that should delay everything. Unexpected token. Yeah. Is it .then that we do here? I forget. I think so. Then results. We don't care about the results. We just want a console log. Crash. Promise queue is not defined. Of course. This dot. Remember when I said this dot? The best of the best. Forget this dot. There it is. Alright, so the chair was out of stock. Yeah, and we can say, just so that it's easier to know. We'll just not add the chairs. Or we'll only add the chairs. Wait, what? Item. Triple equal chair. How are we getting the table and the tablecloth in there? Oh. I'm not shortcutting out. There we go. Wait. It's still saying everything's out of stock. Oh, I'm not passing item. Things are hard when I'm all woozy. There you go. Okay, so that works. So that's kind of nice. Kind of nice. Seems a little cluttery. I could push directly in here and get rid of this variable, but then what would I do that then on? Don't know. This is fine. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show. Does this still work? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't remove anything because it's not there. The last thing I wanted to show, let's just do it this way. So it's, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so new people would do something like this. Map is an actual object. And why would you use map instead of object? Well, they're very close to the same thing. Difference is mostly the API. Here you have a for each directly on the map. You can't for each on an object. You'd have to do object.keys or object.entries. Object.entries is actually kind of cool. Oops, almost forgot my MDN at the beginning of my search. Look at that, I've been here before. Object entries gives you a tuple, which you can destructure using the brackets notation into key and value. So a tuple is an array of a fixed length, and usually the length is 2, and usually it's a key and a value. So this is taking that array of 2, and arrays don't obviously have keys and named variables for what's in the array. This is an array of 2. When you destructure it here, you're assigning the first value in the array to the variable key, the second value in the array to the variable value, and then you can use them within the function. For each kind of gives you that anyway. I think a for each gives you the value, key, and map. Yeah. Interestingly, they reverse the order from value and key because most of the time when you're mapping over a map, when you're for eaching over a map, you want the value usually more than the key. So what this allows you to do is just get the value and leave these parameters off if you don't need them. So smart API design there. It also has a has function to check if it's in there and a get function. But I think for each is or values even. These are the, what is value? Oh, values gives you an iterator. Nah, that's no bueno. I mean, it's fine. It's just, iterators are weird working with. Because you can't just like map over. It's not an array. It's an iterator. So you do .next and then value. Anyway, the key difference between a map and an object is that a map is easier to loop through. So in our case here, we do want to store it in a hash. In other words, a zero, a constant time lookup time, unlike an array where you'd have to search all the way through, and the time complexity would be like n. It would be however many, because if you're always accessing the last one, you still have to loop through all of them. With a map, it's constant time, just like an object where you're directly indexing the value that you want. But because we're printing, if we did want to do some fancy, nice printing where we're actually iterating through all the items in the cart, a map instead of an object would be more performant and just cleaner syntax than an object. Does that make sense? Let's just change this so that it's a little more clear. So instead of the stringify, you can just do something like, so it would be, when it's an object, let's do it with an object first. When it's an object, you'd have to do entries cart dot for each, it's a tuple with a key and value. Oops, missing some parens here because it takes a callback. And in this callback function, you'll log out key and value. Cool console log trick is if you put your console log, all the things you want to log inside of an object. This is like an inlining a new object. Then instead of just getting, let's see, if I just do key value here, I get tablecloth 1, table 1, tablecloth 2. If I do it in an object, it tells me this is the key and this is the value. So if I actually did want these names, I can wrap it in an object in the console log. But I don't actually want those. I like the look of this. This is nice. So let's refactor to do a maparoonie. So a few things change here. This is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Here we go, object stuff. So if it has it, this is kind of an implicit check. So now we get into the beauty of a map where we can say this.cart.has item. And then if it already has it, then set item set set item takes key and value. Like that. Okay, otherwise, like that. That is not working. Okay, yeah, so now this becomes this.cart.forEach, and the forEach takes value and key, right? How does forEach work? I was just looking at it. Value key. It's not a tuple. It's not a tuple unless you're using the for of syntax. All right, so there we go. That is working, but I think we can make this even easier because if I look here and I say get garbly-gunk, it's undefined. So if what I'm thinking is that I can do, I'm always setting it, and I'm setting it to this. Question 0. And then I'm getting rid of the check. So what is this going to do? Set the item in the cart to the current item. If this returns, if it's not in there, we'll get undefined there, which would make this trigger, which will give it 0. And then, so it's either going to be the value of an item or it's going to be 0 plus the quantity. And that works. Honestly, in a real coding situation, this is better because reading this like another person coming into this code, saying I need to read and modify this code, I can very easily read this, say, oh, we're checking if the cart has the item, and if it doesn't, we're setting it. And if it does, then we're setting it, we're using it. If it doesn't, we're just setting it. Much easier to read, but that other way, the one-liner, you get fancy with it. This way, I don't know. I could go back and forth on that. It depends on the audience. If you think that all the other people coming into this code to read it and modify it are going to understand the question 0 inline and just immediately see what's going on here, go that way. If you think people are going to need this more verbose, it's easier to modify, easier to look at, easier to read, keep it here. And we're not looking for minimal lines of code. So I think that's about all I have to say about this. I've probably been droning on for a long time because, again, beasting on my back. Yeah. I think that's all I have to say. It's a fun problem. All right.